You know, in every big election, there's always one result that makes everyone just stop and go, wait, what just happened? In the 2024 Indian general election, that moment came from Faizabad, the very constituency that includes Ayodhya, home of the brand new Ram Mandir. It was a result that, on the surface, seemed to make absolutely no sense.
So, let's look at the hard numbers, because they really do tell the story. The Samajwadi Party candidate, Ayodhya Prasad, beat the BJP's incumbent, Lalu Singh, by a margin of more than 54,000 votes. That's not just a loss, it's a decisive one. For a party that had put the temple right at the center of its campaign, this was a stunning blow in its own symbolic backyard.
Right? That's the big question on everyone's mind. The inauguration was this massive, historic event, a promise decades in the making, finally fulfilled. So how on earth did the electoral math go so wrong for the ruling party? What was really happening on the ground that the national headlines might have completely missed?
Okay, so here's how we're going to try and solve this puzzle. First, we'll look at why this was such an anomaly. Then we'll unpack all the different factors that led to the upset. We'll hear from a voter on the ground, look at a really interesting twist that came later, and then we'll try to figure out what it all means.
First things first, we really need to understand just how bizarre this result was. This wasn't just any old constituency. This was supposed to be a fortress for the BJP, especially after the temple inauguration. It was supposed to be a sure thing.
And think about it. The incumbent, Lalu Singh, he wasn't some newcomer. He'd held this seat for a decade, winning in both 2014 and 2019. The BJP had a solid track record here. So for them to lose this particular seat at this particular moment, yeah, it was a political earthquake. It was a clear signal that something much more complex was going on with the voters.
So how did it happen? Well, as with most things in politics, there's no single easy answer. It wasn't just one thing. It was more like a perfect storm of local anger, the wrong candidate, and some incredibly smart strategy from the opposition.
Okay, let's start with the candidate himself. Lalu Singh had been the member of parliament for a long time, but that kind of long tenure, well, it can have its downsides. Word on the ground was that, being in his early 70s, some people felt he just wasn't as accessible anymore. There was a bit of a feeling that maybe it was just time for a change.
Now, on the flip side, you have the opposition strategy, which was just a masterstroke. The Samajwadi Party chose their candidate very, very carefully. They went with Ayodhya Prasad, a 9-time MLA and a hugely respected Dalit leader. This was brilliant. It solidified their traditional Muslim Yadav vote, and then it pulled in a massive, crucial block of Dalit votes. And to make things even better for them, the BSP's candidate, a Brahmin, managed to grab over 46,000 votes, which likely peeled away support that might have otherwise gone to the BJP.
And when you look at the actual demographics of Faizabad, you can see exactly why the strategy works so well. The scheduled caste population is over 21%. That's a huge voting block. You combine that with a significant Muslim population in key areas, and suddenly you have a coalition that's incredibly difficult to beat.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just about clever political math. You can't forget that at the end of the day, all politics is local. And there were some very real, very serious local problems brewing under the surface. People were upset about land being taken for big development projects. Many felt the compensation for their homes and shops was unfair, or that it was taking forever to arrive. And out in the countryside, there was this growing feeling that all the money and attention was going to Ayodhya city, while the villages were being left behind. Plus, you had the big national issues like jobs and inflation hitting people right in their wallets.
Numbers and analysis are one thing, but to really get a feel for the mood, you have to listen to the people who were actually there, living it, and casting their votes.
And this quote, this one really gets to the heart of it. It's from a self-described BJP supporter, someone living right there near Ayodhya, and what they said is just so revealing. They say, "I would not say greedy, but people love their land." That's it. That simple, powerful idea. It wasn't about wanting more money, it was about a deep connection to their homes. And then he adds that candidate selection was crucial. This just paints a perfect picture of personal, local feelings overriding everything else.
All right, so you think you've got the story figured out, right? Local issues, candidate problems, smart opposition. But then politics does what it does best. It throws you a massive curveball. Because the story of a permanent shift away from the BJP and Ayodhya, well, it was about to get a lot more complicated.
So here's the twist. The winner of that big election, Ayodhya Prasad, he also happened to be a local MLA. Because he won the national seat, he had to give up his local one. That triggered a by-election just a few months later in Milkipur, which is one of the assembly segments inside the Faizabad district. And the result?
A complete 180. The BJP won, and they won big.
I mean, just look at these numbers side by side. It's just wild. In the main election, the BJP loses the whole area by over 54,000 votes. A few months later, in a part of that same area, they win by over 61,000 votes. Their vote share jumped from less than 44% to over 60%. It's just an incredible demonstration of how quickly and how dramatically voter sentiment can shift.
So after all these twists and turns, what on earth are we supposed to make of all this? How do we decode these two completely opposite verdicts from the same people, just months apart? What's the final takeaway here? Well, the first thing to understand is that the story isn't simple. It's a complex tapestry woven from many different threads. And maybe the most telling detail of all, something a lot of people missed, is this. Even in the big 2024 election that the BJP lost, their candidate actually won the specific part of the constituency that covers Ayodhya city itself. The loss came from the surrounding rural areas. So let's boil it all down. What are the big lessons here? First, local issues and the popularity of your candidate can absolutely crush a big national narrative. Second, caste arithmetic is not a thing of the past. It's still a really powerful force. Third, and that by-election proved this, one result is just a snapshot in time, not the final story. And finally, voters are not a single block. Their opinions are dynamic and they can change fast.
Ultimately, the whole Ayodhya puzzle leaves us with this one big question. Do we hear the electorate as a single, deafening roar, all reacting to one big issue? Or is the true voice of democracy really found in a chorus of thousands of different local whispers, each one telling its own unique story? The 2024 result in Faizabad suggests we should probably start listening more closely to the whispers.